We have breaking news here at 3 o'clock. The Memphis Grizzlies organization says it is heartbroken by the sudden death of forward Brandon Clarke.
Chris Harris joins us here in studio now. Chris, are there any details about what happened with the 29-year-old?
As of right now, no cause of death has been released, but Brandon Clarke did play his entire 7-year career in Memphis. He averaged about 10 points per game. Clarke was actually a first-round draft pick of the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2019, but he was traded to the Grizzlies not long after then and finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. Clarke battled injuries 2 of the last 3 seasons in Memphis, but last month, Arkansas police arrested him for possession and trafficking of a controlled substance, which they found in his car after Clarke was clocked doing 100 miles per hour. The Grizzlies also said in their statement today, Brandon was an outstanding teammate and an even better person whose impact on the organization and the greater Memphis community will not be forgotten. Tracy?
They're so unfortunate. All right, Chris Harris, thanks.